Hey, you guys, welcome to this episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. And today I'm going to dig into what I spend in a month. Oh, man, budgeting. It's a great thing. It is. But then it makes you really accountable to be like, man, this is really what we spend. And sometimes it's kind of hard to swallow. You're like, oh my gosh, it just seems like a lot. But it's good to be intentional and on purpose with your money, which that's what a budget is. So we're going to look at a few overarching categories for the Cruze household and let you know that every month our budget looks different because we have different needs, we have different things going on. So again, I'm not going to bore you with every single line item because we have a lot of line items in our budget because we're very specific. But I do want to share with you just some of our high arching categories for our monthly budget and just give you some examples. And some of you are just interested. You're just like, what do you do? So Winston and I, we budget together. And some months it's like a very quick 5-minute conversation of like, hey, here's our consistent categories, but here are the things that are changing. Here are things that we can take out from last month's budget and reconcile it. And so, yeah, these conversations are usually pretty quick, but we really try to pay attention to usually groceries, out to eat. That's a big one. The kids' categories and our categories. That's where things tend to fluctuate month to month. So again, very specific with our categories and what we spend, but they change month to month. So I'm going to give you just a couple of examples of what we have budgeted. Okay. We have babysitting. We try to do a few date nights out, and I don't know where you live, but babysitters are costing more and more. I guess if you have like a high school student versus, someone that's actually like working in a career, I pay different depending on the age and the experience. So we budget about $200 for our date nights, and that's what we budgeted in February. Also, just a little pro tip, if you budget for a babysitter, then you're like, okay, the money's there, then we need to go out on a date. We need to leave the kids at home and leave and go on a date. So that budget category kind of helps us, gives us permission to get out of the house and leave the kids. We budget $300 for gas. And this category, again, month to month, it depends on how much we're driving. If we go to Knoxville and see Winston's family, whatever is going on in the month. Sometimes we go over on this one. Winston has a truck. We have a minivan. And so it just takes a lot of gas. This month, I had to pay for my girls to have summer camp. So our church is doing a summer camp. So I signed them up for that. It ended up being $460 for the 2 girls. So I put that in the bottom of our budget because anytime it's just a per month expense that won't roll over, I usually put that at the bottom of our budget so we can see. Grocery this month, I did awesome. I just want to brag on myself, just give myself a pat on the back. We spent $424. I budgeted $700, so we saved like $300 in that category, and that doesn't always happen. Usually, groceries are right there at what we budgeted for, sometimes a little bit over, but it just felt so good. I was like, oh my gosh, when I go under budget, I feel like I can celebrate. I also got a pedicure and a manicure this month, so in the Rachel line item, I budgeted $100 for that and took $100 out of mine to get that done, because that's just for fun. Okay, so before I continue, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministries. I know we're all looking for ways to save, especially on healthcare costs. So do yourself a favor and check out Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's biblically based health cost sharing that can keep your budget under control. So learn more today at chministries.org/budget. Okay, so again, month to month, everything changes. So there's some months that it's like, oh yeah, we had a weekend trip that we went and we had to spend more on gas or a hotel or whatever we were doing. Some months, nothing is going on. Some months you're signing up for summer camp. So again, things change every single month. That is why it is so important to budget before the month begins and look at your calendar and know what is coming. And, you may overspend. And if you keep overspending in a category, either you're just overspending because you're not thinking about it or not being intentional, or the category is too small to be realistic for your lifestyle. So if you up a category, then go and lower some other categories. But you really do. You want to say, This is consistently what we spend. And if you underspend in categories consistently, then lower it. Don't just keep a big number in that category if you know you're not going to hit it. So be as realistic as possible. And if you have extra money, like we will now in our grocery budget for the end of the month, then you can put that towards your baby steps, especially if you're on baby steps 1 through 3. If you're saving up an emergency fund or getting out of debt, use that extra cash to help with that. But if you're in baby steps 4, 5, 6, or 7, it's a little bit more like, you can throw it at something else, put it in another category if you want to spend. So those are kind of more of just your intentional steps versus intensity. But baby steps 1 through 3, definitely throw it at the next baby step. And when you're doing your monthly budget, the question you always need to come back to is, does your income, your money goals, and what you've got going on in life align with your spending? Because if you have goals out there, if you have things that you want to do, you want to make sure that your money is a tool to create that as much as possible. And while your budget shouldn't change too drastically month to month, the fact is no 2 months are the same. So again, that's why I like creating a new budget every single month, even though the same categories will turn over. And sometimes you even keep the same dollar amounts month to month, which is great for consistency. But you want, the surprises to be eliminated as much as possible, because it's the worst when something comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, we didn't plan for that. And you have to figure it out in the budget. That's one reason too, the miscellaneous category is really big for those catch-all things. And then when you're ready to start your next budget, again, just copy last month's budget on over. I use EveryDollar, the app, and it does that for me automatically, which is great. So again, just making sure that you know exactly what you're spending is so helpful. And if there's any specific things for just that month, like celebrations, like birthdays and anniversaries, if there's other things going on like camps or school stuff, like very specific, put those at the bottom of the budget. So when it copies to next month, you can take those out and it makes it really simple. Now, if you still struggle fitting all of those changing expenses into your budget, here's another idea. Create a budget category called month specific stuff, right? Or like something in there. And so you just kind of have a catch-all for those things. So you're not stressed of, oh my gosh, did I not get everything written down? And it takes people about 3 months to get their budget working. So give yourself some grace and keep working on it. Again, it's going to take about 90 days, so keep at it. And I want you guys to be encouraged by it though, that this is possible. Even if you feel like, budgeting is a lot, I get it. But just being intentional month to month, looking over your budget, and just knowing, okay, here's where my money's going. It gives you a level of control. So make sure to share this video with a friend who wants to keep track of her spending. And remember, you guys, to take control of your money and create a life you love.